Massive overnight withdrawals amounting to 8 billion shillings by Chase Bank customers last week forced the regulator to put the bank under receivership of the Kenya Depositors Insurance Corporation. If only other banks provided capital to the troubled bank through the overnight interbank lending channel, maybe the bank could still be in operation.
Liquidity management and alcohol management is critical when you're running these banks. Yeah, and I think a lot of banks were flying too close to the line, honestly. Yeah. And they were relying solely on wholesale banking borrowing. So they were relying on the interbank market.
The events that unfolded last week have now exposed small banks with inadequate capital buffers as larger banks contemplate a review in the overnight rate to minimize risks.
We should be honest, it's probably a natural reaction will be to review all the credit lines that banks lend to each other. Yeah. And that is going to face some challenge on some of the smaller banks because maybe they had credit lines in place and those have been reduced or even removed. Those credit decisions are based now on the financials that are presented by those banks.
This month, the interbank rate stood at 9.5% on the higher side according to CBK. Banks are required to have core and total capital ratios of 10.5% and 14.5% respectively to withstand any eventual risk. CBK has now allowed small banks and microfinance institutions to access the regulator's safe in a move aimed at restoring confidence in the sector as well as stabilize the market. But there is a catch.
If in your alcohol management you have not allowed for sufficient easily liquidatable securities, you find yourself in a precarious position where you can now not go to the central bank and say, I will pledge you these T-bills, which you know are 100% safe in order for you to give me some money for me to fulfill my obligations to my clients. Yeah.
In a space of 8 months, 3 banks have been placed under receivership, with one sending senior top managers home over management issues. This brings into question the issue of governance in the banking sector. Now, even as the central bank moves in to provide support for smaller banks facing liquidity constraints, it remains to be seen whether the much-needed customer trust would return after the storm.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Bankers Association has moved in to assure customers that the banking sector is in a stable and sound condition, despite prevailing conditions heightened by receivership of Chase Bank. The association says the 3 cases are isolated and are not an indication of instability in the overall banking sector. In a statement, the association has also refuted reports circulating on social media on the speculated list of banks that are allegedly facing closure. Ronald Willie, News Our Business.